Hello and welcome back to our next episode. Trying to build a game, aren't we? But we haven't got very far, have we? Look, I got rid of the lamps, by the way. They were causing errors because there was nothing connected to them. So yeah, we haven't got very far. We did, but we didn't. But once we've kind of broke through this part, anything else that uses power will kind of be a little bit easier. So we can start adding other things in that we might want to do. So let's have a look. What have we got? So we now have our cabling tool, and we now have a new generator. Well, it's not a new generator, it's just a slightly modified generator. We may have to modify some of the tick stuff on here. I think it's okay though. Yeah, I think it's okay. Power required. I've got to, maybe optimize some of this, maybe do it a little bit different. I don't know. Anyway, so we have our cabling tool, we have our generator. We're not going to attach any cables yet. Our alphabetic spaghetti over here just needs a little bit of work. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of work, to be honest. Our electrical connector, at the moment, it works, but I might consider a different way of communicating. I am considering using the interface, but I haven't decided yet. But let's get on to what I said I'll be doing in this episode, and that's working on the first person character. Now, all I've done is dragged in a bog standard first person character from Unreal 5.2. Now, you'll have some of these things already, and they might look a little bit different, or the wording might be different, but pretty much you'll have a moving character that can move around and do stuff. I've got some extra stuff down here which we'll go through. So let's get right into it. So what have I created now? I probably need to talk about quite a few odd things in this episode, and that is I've had to create some new things. Now, I've created a game mode, but I don't think I'm using anything in it, except all I've done is in the game mode I've created I've set the default pawn to the first person character for now. Apart from that, I don't think I've done anything else. No, so that's okay. So make yourself a game mode and just make sure that the default pawn class is the BP first person character, the standard one that we're using up here. Yeah, okay, that's the game mode. Okay, I've put these in a folder inside the blueprints folder. I've put a new one called game, which is all the game stuff, background game stuff. What I did do is I've created my own new game instance. Now, for those that don't know what a game instance is the persistence that's always the same in the background throughout the whole game, including in the menus, including when you're not in a level, anything like that. This is, well, you have to be in a level 4 menu as well, but yeah. But this is the game instance. This will remember things throughout the life of the game. Okay, so to create a game instance, you can right click and blueprint. Oh, I don't know if it go into gameplay. No, it just is a lightweight instance, whatever that is. So blueprint class, and type in there game, and I'll just put in. All you want is game instance. Yeah, click on that and give it a name. I called mine BP for blueprint, GI for game instance underscore main game. Okay, then we'll open it up. Now, all I've put in here is a link to the HUD, and again, at the moment we don't have this made, so it's just in the initialize. We've set the HUD up. Yeah, the reason I put it in here is it means that I can always access this regardless of what level I'm in or anything like that, so I don't have to mess about trying to access players and that, because if I store it inside the player, the tools I've got to then go all the way back to the player. Well, just grab this and just grab the information straight from the instance. I will explain it better when we come round to it. Just don't touch on this just yet. I'll show you what this is for if you don't understand what I'm looking at right here in a second. So what I did, I created a couple of widgets, or one widget, sorry. So in your main content folder, create a folder called widgets. Yep. And then in there, I've created one called HUD. Now the reason I've got a separate folder and not just put it all in here, because menus also widgets and things, and also like screens you want on devices and that, they're all widgets. This one's going to be the HUD and all the stuff we need for the HUD. So we click on HUD. Okay, so we have our widget, which is just a dot in the middle of the screen. Well, so it appears. But before I go into that, let me just show you the textures I made. Now, they're not really textures. So this dot is just a dot. Okay. I don't know why it's displayed as 5112, because that's not what I imported it as. Oh, displayed view, sorry. Yeah, it is correct up here. I made a 32 by 32 image. Yeah, I did this in GIMP, so you can do this for free. So if I open GIMP, oh, I've probably opened it twice now because there's like a delay on the window closing on Windows, the menu closing on Windows. So I'll probably end up loading it twice. So all I did in the GIMP is go File, New, and I set it 32 to 32. Hit Enter. Then I get the zoom to make this easier. Just keep zooming into the middle of it. Make sure you zoom in the middle, because if you start doing that, it goes off at a weird angle. And get in as close as you want. That's probably best. Then what I normally do is I right click over here, empty space, and I go New Layer, and just make sure it says Transparency. There, click OK. Then click on the background and right click that and delete layer. Quickest way to get rid of that rather than messing about. So we now have a transparent thing there. Click on the left foreground color there and set yourself a nice white color. I've got it here, so but you can just drag up into there. Click OK. Then what you want is you want a bucket fill tool. Click and hold and go to gradient. Okay, and click on the gradient, and then you want foreground to transparent, so the white to nothing. Yeah, click on that. Then you want the shape to radial. Yeah, and basically that's it. What you want to do down here, it will show you your coordinates. See, as then I'll move, it shows you the coordinates. Roughly get your mouse to 16 by 16, or not roughly, actually do it. Click and hold and drag it out. Okay, now here you can actually now modify that. So if it was in the wrong place, you can go, yeah, that was about it there. Yeah, 16 by 16, dead center. Also, your radius is here. I set mine to 24. Oh, that's an endpoint. Oh, that's the start point. I've not clicked on the endpoint. Sorry. Let me put this back. Ignore me. Doing another cock up. There, 16 by 16. So you can actually set it there, 16 by 16. Click on the endpoint and set that to 24 by 24. And that's it. Now you can save it, file, save as an XCF, or you can go file, export as, and then what you want to do is find somewhere to put it. So I'm going to put it in here, game stuff, textures, and then give it a name. I'll call mine dot, and put the PNG, .png at the end, and it will automatically save it as a PNG. Okay, so if I click export, you shouldn't have to change any of this. Just click export. I made sure normally that this is up to the maximum. I think it is 9. Click export and it will save it. Okay. Inside Unreal, you right click, import to game, find your game stuff, textures where I put it, find your dot and drag it in. that's it, and it will load in there. Perfect. Now this bolt of lightning I got from somewhere else. Now let me see if I can find the place I got that from. Let's have a look. I'm trying to think what it was called now. Let me have a look for my history, because I can't see what I'm looking for. So I got this from let's have a look. I've got so many things open in here. I was looking for SVG support, and then I found this. Okay, this is what I got. It's called Font Awesome on GitHub. So it's really weirdly spelled. So it's github.com/fortawesome/font-awesome. Don't know why it was Fort. Maybe Font Awesome was already taken here. But this is Font Awesome. This is free. It's Creative Commons 4, and it's free. Come down, licenses. Okay. Awesome. Free is free. Open source and GPL friendly. You can use it for commercial, open source projects, or really almost whatever you want. So it's free. Always attribute. It's basic, etiquette basically. Never alone, just having to. But a Creative Commons 4 license applies to all these. I've not really looked at the fonts and the code. I don't have any need for those, but the icons themselves are Creative Commons 4 free completely. Just attribute the people, just say thanks for them. Yeah. So if you come to this side and go to release 6.4, and I downloaded this one called the web. Now there is a desktop one as well, so you could get them both, but I downloaded the web one and I extracted it to a folder on my computer. And let's find where I put that. It was in there, and it was in game stuff, and it was in Font Awesome. And in here is a crap loads of SVG files. See, there is absolutely loads of them. I've had to install PowerToys for this to show these, but there is a hell of a load in there, absolutely loads, and they're really cool. I modified mine. Let me just show you. I think it was solid. I think it was called Bolt. There it is. Bolt Lightning. There's Bolt and Bolt Lightning. I modified mine. I loaded it into GIMP, modified it, and saved it as another PNG. Yeah. That's whether you choose to or not. But if you load that into GIMP, should allow you to. Let's see if it'll let me drag it in this way. There we go. Load up the defaults, click OK, blah blah. There we go. I'll change the color to white. Yeah. So you probably want to do that. So just use the bucket tool. Make sure you got a nice white or grey, and then just fill it. Yeah. And then file, save that as a PNG. I did a little bit of cutting out on it. I'm not going to go into that now. That's for you to do. But I also did an image, scale image, and I brought this down to the bottom number was 256. Press tab or enter, and it automatically adjusts the top one. Hit scale, just brings it down smaller, just makes it a little bit more optimized for your game. Really doesn't matter too much if you use it, depends on how many textures we end up using, but I'll just make it a little bit smaller. So I saved that as a PNG, okay, and I imported that in. Discard changes, and let's get rid of that and get rid of that. So yeah, and that's what this one is. If I open that up, all I did was a cutout on the inside. I did a selection tool on that, a marquee selection, and then I shrunk it by about 8 pixels, and then I cut out the middle, and that was it. But I'm not going into that today. So I have a bolt of lightning and a dot. Okay, and they're the two things you saw last time. So where have I used them, do you say? Let's close these. I don't need to look at these now. So I'll leave the game instance open because we will go back to that at some point. So let's go back to widgets, HUD, and then we'll open this. right? To make this, use a right click, user interface, widget blueprint, give it a name, and open it up. And this will give you a canvas. You don't have to modify any of this. It actually scales, so don't worry about that at the moment. So it'll say 1280 720, doesn't matter. Here all you'll have is the name of the widget. So at the top here, type in canvas or part of it, and then drag in a canvas panel, and it'll fill the screen. Then you want to add an image. Yeah, drag that in, just drag it on top of your canvas panel, and it will create the image. Now it'll pop it up here, but you can anchor to the center like so. Yeah, so that now sets the anchor in the center. So click on there, anchors, and click the center. Yeah, it's still over here, but that's only because we haven't told it to go to the center, because it's got offsets. All we do is get rid of the offsets and it's in the center. But as you can see, I'm only going to go through this quickly, but as you can see, it's not correct. It's like to the right of the center, and that's because the anchor point here is in the top left corner. We can change that because the alignment here is based on percentage. So 1 is 100%, 0 is here, so that's 100%, and that's 0. So all we do is put in there 0.5, and same in that one, 0.5. Oh, 0.5, not 0, 0.5. Why is it not? Is it me? Am I putting commas? Yeah. Put the mouse is in the way. So there we have our image. So what we do is we change our image here, click, and then type dot. Yeah, but it's stretched. We know our size, but I chose different sizes. So what you want to do is, it's a 32 by 32 here. Yeah. Let me just delete this image because I don't need this one. Let's go back to this one, which is the one I already have. And then you just change these sizes. I've dropped it down to 25 by 25. Yeah, that seems to be nice for me. If you want to go bigger, but just keep your dimensions equal, because it's a 32 by 32 image, you might as well keep those balanced as well. So whatever you change on one, you change on the other. Yeah, that puts it smack bang in the center. This one, again, I changed the anchors to the center. Yeah, but then all I did was the same thing again. I changed the alignment to 0.5, 0.5, so it's bang in the center. Reset the positions to 0, and then I set the offset point to -80, and which put it up here. Yeah. This was a different size. This was 256. It will come up 192 by 256. Yeah, massive. So all I did is I just divided it. So I divided by 4 and divide it by 4. Do the maths in the box, and that's sets the size. So it was roughly about 4 there. I always set this as well. I don't think it actually matters, but I set that the same, the image size, as that. So just divide each part by 4. It may give you some weird values if your image isn't perfectly sized, if you use a different image than what we've got here, but because that was an exact size, it worked out nicely. Like I said, anchor center, offsets the alignment at 0.5, 0.5, and then your position just offset by -80 to bring it up above. Now this one, I changed the name of it and called it electrical. I don't think I really need to, but what I did then is I needed to set whether it was visible or not. So if you make sure it's highlighted and boxed up or highlighted there, scroll down to visibility, or you could type it in the search there, visibility, and then there'll be a box here that says create binding. I've already got this, so it makes no difference. So create binding. Yeah, click that and it will create a new function. Now what I did was I created a variable that was open. It was publicly available, and it's called type eSlate visibility. Yeah, you can tell that because when it's created this function, it'll probably have a weird name. I just renamed it. Yeah, get electrical visibility, but I've renamed it here. You can leave it called whatever you like, and then the output return node is eSlate visibility. So that's what you need to make your variable. I forgot what it's called then. That's what you make your variable, eSlate visibility, and you plug that into there, and that's it. So give it a default as a default value of hidden. The reason you give it a default value as hidden because you don't want to see it. Don't want to see it at all, not until we need it. Okay, so when we save and compile that, and that's it. That's our HUD made. So now we have that. I called mine bpw underscore HUD underscore dot, but I'll probably rename that at some point. So just call it HUD. So if you come back to your game instance, mine's already open up here, but go to game and game instance, double click it, opens up. We can now change this default HUD variable to the type that we've just created, bpw HUD dot. Yeah. bpw HUD dot. That's just the type of what it can store. That doesn't actually create one. We then need to create one. So if you come up to event graph and you right click, sorry, you don't go up to your event graph and right click. You right click here and you type in event, and this will give you a list of all the events here at the top. Click on init, it gives you this. Then we need to create our widget. So you drag off here and you go create widget. Yeah, click on that. Comes up with this box. Select your class, and it's going to be the same as this, bpwhud dot. So there is bpwhud dot, and then leave its electrical visibility as hidden. Yeah, for now. I've already got that there, so I'm going to delete that. But then what I'm going to do is set this variable to there. So you just drag this and you go to that, and it will set it. Yeah, and make sure you've got the execution pin connected, like so. What that does is now the game instance now knows what your HUD class is. Yeah, it owns the HUD class basically. It's got it there, so it has the HUD class. So now that's all we need in the game instance. It's just somewhere to access from. So when we come back to our cabling tool now, and we're doing our traces and we're doing all our checks, when we come back out of that find target, we go to our event tick. Okay, this is where this comes in. So we need to access the HUD widget, and it's one of these hidden objects because it's from the base class, the tool class. But if you just right click and type in HUD get widget, yeah, and then you set, drag off and go to set electrical visibility. When you find a valid object, you set it to visible. When you find an invalid object, you set it to hidden. I'll do the same on the deactivate tool, so that if the icon's visible when you deactivate the tool, just hide it. Exact same thing. Get the HUD widget, drag off, set the electrical visibility to hidden. Okay, because that's a variable that's inside this widget, because we know it is, because we've set that type already. Now if we come into the base class, there's just one thing we need to do in the base class. I think I did it in the base class. I don't think I did it in the first person character. So let's come up and let's have a look at our base class. Electrical, where did we put our base tool class? No, it was in tools. So is our base class. Let's open that. No, we didn't put it in there, did we? Or did we? No, we didn't. So I must have done it on the first person character. Yes, looks like I did. So open your first person character up, zoom in, and just go to your event begin play. Now ignore what's here. It might be slightly different on yours. It should be pretty much the same, but just in case it isn't, just follow your event play till you get to the end. All right, what we need to do then is we need to tell our player what the game instance is, and to do that you just right click and type get game instance node. Yep. And when you drag off that, you want to cast it to our game instance, which was bpgi underscore. So yeah, let me show you. So if I drag off and then just type cast to bpgi, should be all it is, and then we click on it. Now as you can see, this has got an execute node. To change it to a simple node so we don't have to plug it in there, just right click and convert to pure. That's all you have to do. It makes it easier. Okay, so we plug that in to game instance. Now the game instance again is just another variable down here, and it's of the same type as this. So create a variable and set it to the BP main game instance. Yeah, so it's all identical. So then we get it, cast to it, and set it here. Yeah, so now we've got access to our game instance. From that game instance we can get our HUD. Okay, so from there you drag off and get default HUD, which is what I've done, and then from there you can set our HUD.widget here. So another component, just a variable, just add it in of type bpw HUD dot, the same widget we've been using and we just made, and we set this variable to that widget. Okay, then we need to add it to the viewport. Okay, so simple, add to viewport, drag in the widget and the connection. So all that does there, it tells the player that this is the game instance that's going to store all our persistent stuff, and this is the HUD we're going to be using, and this is displays the HUD on the screen. Yep, so it's all ready for us to use. Now I then pass this HUD to all of the tools. Now there's only one at the moment, but there will be more. So what I've done is I'm looping through all the BP tool base class. So all these that come from that will appear in it, including this one and any other one that is derived from this base. So any of this base class or any child of this base class. Okay, so we get components by class, BPC tool base. Yeah. Go through each of the list, and then we set that variable we did. That we made on the base here, not in there, it's probably in config, HUD widget of type BPW HUD. So it's the HUD again. I know we're duplicating this everywhere, but there is a method to the madness. So we've created a new variable called HUD widget. I'll put it under the config along with the name and the icon, and it's of type BPW HUD dot, which is our new, just one and only widget that we made. And then we set that inside the player character here. So for every single type of tool we've got, we're going to tell it what the HUD is. That means then that the tools have access to the HUD. So it means that we can supply areas that supply information to the HUD. At the moment I've not added any places except for that one icon. So now all that tool has access to switching that icon on and off, and that's all it's done in at the moment. There will be more stuff. There might be, like, I don't know, maybe temperatures of your drills. There might be a radar of such that you might have to have a tool for. I don't know yet. A radio with a tuner, and the tuner comes up on your HUD. Yeah, but it just allows us to access the HUD directly from the tool, rather than going all the way back and casting to the first person character, blah blah blah. We don't need to. We don't need to cast or anything. We just access the HUD directly, and if there's anything in there that it needs access to, it's got it. So that's all it's doing, getting all of our tools and attaching the HUD widget to the HUD widget, yeah, of the tool. So they all know now where things are. So if you follow that okay, discard changes, if you followed all that okay, you should hopefully be in a situation to be hitting play and having this HUD. So now we need one more thing. We need to be able to switch the tools on and off. Okay, so what I did here, now this might be a little bit alien to some of you. So I did this in the first person folder for now. I am going to move this into our own character when we do this, so we'll recreate these anyway if you're not sure. So go to input, first person folder, go to input. I see a couple of things here, then you got actions. Go into actions. Now I created I think that was already there, the shoot, but I created cancel and move. And if I just right click here, input action, yeah, and give it a name. So not move, sorry, I didn't make move, I made hotbar and cancel. Shoot was already there. If it's not, create this as well, but they're all exactly the same in this stage. So you right click, input action, yeah, give it a name, double click it, and there is nothing you need to change in here, nothing at all. The shoot one was already set up for me, so I didn't change anything in there. Okay, when I made hotbar, done nothing. As long as it says digital ball, I've not done anything yet. And the same for cancel, I've done nothing in there at all. Right? Basically all these are ways to pass controls to characters, or anything, any pawn that you want to control. It's just a way of it to interpret what type of control is coming through. Okay, you'll understand it a little bit more in a minute. So we now have something to tell the game what they are, but we haven't got no way of performing those tells. We need to map them to keys. So if we come back to the input, and this IMC default, which comes with the first person character, double click it, and let me just minimize these down. Now you should only have jump, move and look. I added shooting, I believe, and I added hotbar and cancel. So all you do is click plus, yeah, and why it expands them all, right, I don't know. Then you click here and you choose which one you want to put in. So you've got hotbar, cancel and shoot, yeah. When it adds them in, let's minimize these down so we can see. Get rid of that one, that was the blank one I just did. So let's take shoot for example. First thing that comes up is, it'll be like blank here. This will be like this. Oh yeah, I've just took shoot out. Let's put shoot back in so you can see how to do it. So I'm going to add this new version of 5.2. It just keeps doing weird things, it keeps expanding everything. So come to the bottom if yours is the same, add shoot. Okay, and then we need to assign it to something. You don't necessarily need to click here. Best thing, just click here and go to mouse, and you want left mouse button. That's it. So now every time left mouse button clicks, this action will fire. I did the same with cancel, and I did it to the right mouse button. Okay, so IA cancel and then attach the right mouse button to it. And then this one a little bit different, hotbar. I added, if you click plus, I added one here and two here, and they're under keyboard 1 and 2 respectively, yeah. So you just hit a plus to add the second one. Not change anything else. So here I've got 1 and 2 both come to the hotbar, because I don't want to have hotbar 1, hotbar 2, hotbar 3. I don't want all of them actions. I just want one, and then I can deal with it in code. Yeah. So that there, if you don't understand enhanced input, you're probably best to watch a proper video on it, and you will understand it then. But basically this just allows you, now this is just map the keys to come through for these. Okay, this was already in the player, which is what all this is about here. This is adding the mapping context. It uses the player controller gets the local input system, checks it's valid, and then adds IMC default as the macking context. Okay, it should already be in there. Like I said, if it's not, you do need to really have a look at that, because I can't really go into that. So where shall we start? Okay, let's start with the basic one. It doesn't do anything yet anywhere, but IA shoot. So you right click and you want IA underscore shoot. When you click on it, it creates this node, which is what I've got here. Now triggered is constantly repeated every time you hold something down. So if you hold the mouse down, it'll go trigger, 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 trigger. So it'll fire, nearly every frame, depending on there is a bit of delay involved, so it's not perfect, but nearly every frame. But that's no good for us. We don't want to just keep repeating. We want to pick up when we click and pick up when we let go. Yeah, and so we just need to distinguish between the two. So when we've clicked the button down, we want to do something, and when we let go, we want to stop doing something. It might be, say you're drilling. If you're holding it down, it'll carry on drilling until you let go and it'll stop drilling. Or it might be just simple as when you start pressing, it connects a power supply cable like we're doing, and it won't do anything else until, if you just let go, it just makes no difference, but you can't do anything else till you let go anyway. So we use started and completed. So when you start clicking, do this. When you finish clicking, do this. Validated get again. So we're getting the current tool that we've stored here. So we've created a variable of type BPC tool base, not cable, base. It must be the base because it can be any of them. Okay. So we've got the current tool, and I'll show you in a minute how we're going to assign this. But this current tool, BPC tool base, bring it out, get, right click, validated get, gives you this. Okay. Always got to make sure that your objects are valid, otherwise you'll start getting non-errors if they're not valid. So started into the validated get. Is it valid? Yes. Then we're going to trigger the BPC tool base action start, which is one of these. Where's our base? One of these. They're not doing anything at the moment, nothing, and I haven't got them programmed. That's the next stage, but that's what it does. It fires that event within inside that component. So you just drag off here and you say event. Oh, it doesn't come up when you do event, doesn't it? So you just want to put type action start, because we know it's called action start. Click that and it comes off and just connect up the is valid pin to it, and do the same for action end. So then we can now send these mouse clicks through for the left mouse button to start and end, but only if this tool is valid. If there's not a tool equipped, it doesn't do anything. Yeah, because if that's got nothing in there, if it's not set, it means we're not using a tool. Simple. So how do we select our tool? So we've got our hotbar. It's invisible at the moment. We don't actually have a visible hotbar, which will be in the HUD, but at the moment there's no visible hotbar. So there's a virtual hotbar, and that is, we're going to be using keys 1 and 2 at the moment, but we can add 3, 4, 5, 6, or as many as we like. Obviously probably 10 is the best, from 1 to 0, or however you want to do it, or 0 to 9. So again, we don't want to do it on start. We don't want to do it continuously. We just want to do a single action to change our tool, and we'll do it on the key press. So it doesn't matter, it won't do anything else until you let go of the key, and you can press it again then. So all we're going to do is we're going to get this get key pressed. Now this is a function I've had to write myself, because I wanted 2 keys, or up to 10 keys, all on this hotbar. I don't want to have several ones going all the way down, right to the bottom of this page, just to handle the hotbar. We could do it all in one, but it doesn't tell us what the key is that's pressed. So this is where it gets a little bit confusing. So I've had to create a function. Okay, And all it does, I'll show you the function in a minute. All it does, it tells me the key that was pressed. Okay, it outputs a key that's pressed. Okay, I am then doing a comparison, so I'm just going down here and I'm going equal, yeah, and then on this one I can go to keyboard number 2 if I wanted to, because I've not implemented it yet. Okay, and then I could do another branch off here and do a check to see was it number 2, which is different, yeah, but we're not using number 2 yet. All we're doing is comparing to number 1. That's going to be our cable tool for now. It's going to be mappable, but at the moment I've hard coded it to the cabling tool. So we're checking if it was for key number 1 that was pressed, because if it isn't, we don't care about it. Yep. So okay, key number 1 was pressed, we know it was pressed, so we're going to get a validated get again on the current tool, just like we did up here, exactly the same. Drag it out, use a get, then right click it, validated get. This is where it gets a little bit complicated. It's not too much, but it's a little complicated. Let's just give it a little bit of room here. So what are we doing here? So what are we checking? So we validated the tool. So if the tool is valid, yeah, we know there's something in there, so we're using the tool already, yeah, but we don't know what yet. So how are we going to find out? Well, that's what this is. The current tool, we've validated it, it's got something in, is valid, yeah, goes off here, so this here will have something in. Okay, so this only be accessed here because this is going to valid. It ignores it if you're coming down here because we're not using the output here, so this won't actually run. If you understand me, it'll only run from nodes that are connected to a valid. Yep. So if it's valid, we know we're also going to check, is it the same tool? So if we've pressed number 1 on the keyboard to access the cabling tool, but the cabling tool is already selected, what are we going to do? So we're going to check, is it the cabling tool? If so, we're going to deactivate the tool. Yeah, so we get the current tool and we send it through to another function here called deactivate, which I'll show you again as well. I'll go through them one by one. So we're going to deactivate this current tool using a function. Okay. Is this a different tool? So it's not this one, so it's going to be false. So we need to deactivate the current tool still. Confused? Yes, you will be. But we then need to enable the new tool. Okay, so if it's already a cabling tool, we deactivate it. If it's already another tool, we switch to the other tool. So we deactivate the old one, and then we come down and we activate the new tool to be the cabling tool. And then we use the activate tool command to tell the actual tool itself to activate. Yeah, so that will come through, and it will come through here, and it will come to an activate tool, but it's done in the base. The base automatically sets the variables there, so it'll come through to here and it'll go, yeah, activate. Okay, I can sense the confusion there. So yeah, so we're checking if it's valid. If it's valid, it means we've got a tool in use. Yeah, we've got a tool in use. Then we check to see, is it the same tool that we're trying to access? If it is the same tool that we're currently accessing, yeah, then we just deactivate it. So it can be used as a toggle switch as well. So number 1 on the keyboard, you press it, it will activate the tool, and if you press it while it's activated, it will deactivate the tool. Yep, I'm hoping that comes across. So we're checking if it's the same tool. If it is, deactivate it. If it's not, deactivate whatever tool we are using and set the new tool to our cabling tool, because that's what's mapped to 1. That's what we've got mapped to 1. But also here, if there is nothing in the cabling tool, we're not using a tool at all, we can just come straight down and activate the current tool. We don't have to deactivate nothing because there's nothing in use. So because there's nothing in there, it comes down and says, right, we're going to activate the current tool. and then tell it to activate. Yeah. So this is just going to say, right, we're going to use your code. That's all that does. Which is what happens once it's activated. So this here is just setting the current tool to the new tool, which number one is the cabling tool. There will be some sort of mapping going on, so we'll have to have some sort of array somewhere, probably in the game instance, where we can get all that information from. But at the moment, we're hard coding the cabling tool to number one. Okay, and this is just ways of checking to see if we've got a tool already equipped. If it's the same one, we'll just switch it off. If it's a different one, we'll switch that off and add the new one in. Or if we haven't got any tools at all, we'll just go straight to the new tool, which is always the cabling tool at the moment, because we don't have any others. I hope that made sense. Before I go into this key pressed, and before I go into this deactivate current tool, this one's quite basic. I'll do that next actually, and then I'll show you the key press thing. But I'll do that next. That's more simple. The cancel is basically a validation. Are we using a tool? So another validated get, drag it out, get a get, right click and go to validated get. Okay, if it's valid, deactivate. If it's not, we don't care because it's already deactivated. So the right click of the mouse gives you cancel, because we mapped that in here, IMC default. That cancel was mapped to the right mouse button. Yeah. So when you click the right mouse button, I was going to say the right mouse button then, it will come through and it'll check to see if we're using a tool, and if so, it'll cancel it. It's simple as. That's all it does, and it deactivates the current tool. So let's go in that. That's the same function that's there and there and there. They all access the same function, which is just this. All it does is sends the deactivate tool command through to the tool base here and turns it off. Yep, so that's all that does. But it also clears the current tool here so that we know it's empty, so we know we're not using a tool. And that's what it does. But because there's 2 steps and I've used it 3 times, I've only got to put 1 node in to call 6 different nodes basically, because there's 2 each time and there's 3 different calls. So that's 6 times. So rather than do that, I'll just have to call 1 node, so it just halves the number of calls. Well, halves the number of nodes to make it nice and clean. So if I come back to my input action triggers, there we go. So every time this is called, it calls those 2 nodes in that in there. Just makes it easier than doing it twice there, doing it twice there and twice there. Yeah. So we don't have to keep calling 2 different nodes just to do one thing, right? As we're only using this once, there was no point doing a function for that at all, because we're just calling it once. So we'll just move that. It might change later on, but we're only calling it once. We're not calling it anywhere else. So hopefully, again, this is straightforward for you. I know I'm confusing everyone now. I hope not. I'm hoping you're following along. So we had one more function in here, and that's this key pressed. Now, I must admit I found this online, and I need to see if I can find who I got that from, because I want to full credit them. I can't at the moment. Let's just hold on. Let me just quickly go into my my history. So here it is. It's a 5.1 tutorial, but it's valid for 5.0 and so forth and so forth. Yeah, it's by Peanut Games. He's only got 278 subscribers, so I might subscribe to this, man. There we go. And the reason being is it's just quite a nifty little workaround for getting the key press, because it's not automatic. Why, I don't know. A lot of people have been searching for this and giving a lot of love for it. So, you know, subscribe to the guy if you know, if it helps you out, because it helped me out. I'll give it a thumbs up there, because Peanut Games, how to get keys, how to get press keys from enhanced input actions. Yep, this is what I used. So I'm going to close that off and let's get back into this. So yeah, give him props, because he showed me how to do this, and it's very, very simple. So here is the function, and all we're doing is inputting the input action from our hotbar press, you remember the one which got number 1 and number 2? It goes into the input of this. Now that's part of the function. I'll show you how to make that now. So let's get key pressed. Okay, it's not massive. It's a little bit confusing, but it's not massive. So I'll call it get key pressed. It has one input, okay, and it's an input action, a type of input action, so that it returns just an input action. It's not an array or anything, and it has one output which is just key, and it's the type struct key. Yeah, let me just show you these just so you can see them. Input action, it should be a cream color. There it is, input action object reference. Yeah, and then key here will just be key struct. There it is, key, and that's a struct for key. Right, now it's a little bit janky, a little bit backwards. I'm hoping Unreal will actually change this and make this a little bit easier for us, because a lot of people are wondering why we can't access which keys press when we've got multiple keys on one action. So let's start here at the beginning first. We need the player controller, because the player controller gives us access to our inputs and so forth, because that's where it's all mapped to. So you get the player controller here. So right click, get player controller. Then from there, you need to drag off and type in enhanced. You see this, get enhanced local player system, and then it will, if you try and just search for this on its own, it becomes without a link here. Let me show you. If you can go enhanced. So if I get one of them, oh, it can work. Last time I did that, it did. Oh, there's two different options, isn't there? Enhanced. Yeah, if you do it this way, you got to make sure you get the right one. See the one without the input? With the one without the input doesn't do anything. So I don't understand why it's there. It doesn't allow me to do anything. So make sure you get the one with the input. So you want to get the enhanced input local player subsystem. See, like a subsystem, bit of a mouthful. So what we're going to do now is get this input action into a query that gets the mapped keys to that action. So you right click and you query mapped. Okay, it's keys mapped, not mapped keys. So query keys. Okay. Oh, we got undo the context sensitive. Sorry. There we go. You want to do this one, the message one. It basically does nothing if it doesn't implement anything, so it doesn't cause any problems. So do this one with the message. Yeah, query keys map to action. If you do this one, it may fail if it doesn't match something, so you could probably cause an error. So this one will do nothing. You'll just ignore it if it doesn't matter. So query keys, query keys map to action message. Yeah, gives you this. Plug your enhanced input local player system into the target. I can never get them words out. And the input here, which is our action, input action into the action. And that returns an array of keys. Yeah. So what we need to do now is do a for each loop. I've put it with the break. But I haven't used the break, but it matters not. Oh no, it should. I really should put the break on here because it's going to conflict. So I will modify this as we go. So with break is important here. You get the array element, yeah, pull it out, and we check, is input key down? So just drag off there, is input key down? Yeah. Which gives us this. Now the target is your player controller, so I've just dragged it all the way from here all the way into the target there. It's just player controller. Yeah. Then we check it. Is it true? Was this key down at the moment? And it's true or false. If it's true, it carries on and returns. Now here I am going to do a little modification. So let me reopen this because that's a little bit condensed for me. We're going to add a local variable there, and we're going to call this return key. And don't want the capitals. Return key, and this is going to be of type key. Yeah. Oh, I hate when it does that. When you hit enter, it changes the first one, not the one you want. Return key. There we go. So return key, type key. Okay. If this is the matching key, we're going to disconnect this node and we're going to disconnect that key. All right. We're going to set this to this key. Yeah. Because we know it matches. Okay. If it's not, then it'll just carry on and check the next one, because we don't want it to keep checking them if it's already found the right key. So let's bring these over a little bit. Okay, if it's found it, we want to break there and there. We want to break because we don't want to keep checking. Then only on completed do we return the node. Now if it's key none, it doesn't matter. So this could come up as none, but we're going to drag that into there anyway. So this could be key none, and we'll default that to key none. Yeah. If it's key none, it'll just ignore it anyway, so it makes no difference. So what we're doing here, just to clarify, we're going through the array. We're checking to see if that is the current key that's pressed. A little bit of a backwards way of doing it, but we're only going through the keys associated to this input action. So at the moment, it's only going through key 1 and key 2 because they're the only two we've got assigned to it. So it'll go to the first one and say, is this the same key? Sorry, is this key the one that's pressed at this moment? If it's true, set it, and then let's get the hell out of Dodge, go to break, and it'll go. So it'll break. If you hit this break here, this goes through to break. It will stop processing this and go straight to completed and out. Yep. But we've already set the return key here. That's fine. But if it's not the key, it'll go to false, which means it'll fall off the end, so it'll come back to here. And if there's another element to choose, it'll start again. So I'll go to the next one. If all of them are wrong, it'll just come out and come as key none. So it makes no difference. So yeah, that's basically how we're checking if the key is the right key that's pressed, and it does work. I have tested it. I promise you, I've tested it. So compile, and we can show you it works now, because when I go into play, I will press key 2 on the keyboard, and then I'll press key 1, and you'll see that 1 works and 1 doesn't. Yeah, and we know that in here we've mapped them both under hotbar. 1 and 2 are running this. Yeah, I can even yeah, let's show you it working. So in this I'm going to get the key pressed here, and we're just going to print it to screen. Print, ooh, I can't spell print, there in between, and we're just gonna bring that up. Oh, I can't, can I? Can I break? That's not normal break key, is it? I can't remember now how you convert this. There's a really strange way of converting it to get hold on, key, case sensitive, key event, get key. Going the wrong way. So that goes in there. Oh, that is a key event structure by ref. That is a key event. Oh, it's a key structure. Okay, does that go into there? No, it doesn't. Interesting. How do we convert to a key? That's odd. Let's break that. Let's just do it inside. Leave that alone. Let's do this inside our first person character under the hotbar, and we will do it here. So we will print string in between, and I can't remember how you get this now. It's key Get key, returns the key for this event. No, because it's an input of an action. So there's got to be a way of reading the key. Get key display. Get key display. Wow. Okay. We don't want its long name because it probably say keyboard blah blah blah. Ignore all this messiness. I'm just going to show this to you now, that this is going to print the key to show you what I've pressed, and you'll see that what works and what doesn't. So I'm going to go 3, nothing. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, nothing. 1, and as you can see, 1 turns on and off, but 2 is doing nothing. 1, 1, 1, 1. Yeah. 2. It's not turning at all off because we've not done anything with 2. Just 1. There we go. Just to prove it works. Probably didn't need to do that. I think you believe me anyway. Let's just get rid of that rubbish. So yeah, that's all that's doing, is breaking down the key and checking that that was the one that was pressed. It's a bit of a backwards way to do it. I don't know why it's not showing in the correct format, but yeah, that's how we've had to do it. Just this function here that gets the input and outputs the key that was pressed. Yeah, a bit backwards. But it saves us writing a load of extra code out to do this, that and the other for each individual hotbar item. At some stage we'll do a proper hotbar where we can assign tools to, and there'll obviously be an inventory to put the tools in, and we'll go from there. One thing I will ask is, when I do an inventory, now some games like 7 Days to Die use your hotbar as an actual inventory item space. So if you put something into that space, it takes it out of your inventory, and that is like another space, because it's like, yeah, it's in your hotbar. I kind of like that idea. Or do you prefer the fact that it must still be only the current one in use comes out of your inventory? Be interesting to know what you think. I like the idea that it's another inventory spot, but some people like a little bit more realism. I don't know. Anyway, we'll leave it there. I'm going to file, save all, and yeah, we'll continue on in the next episode and hope that you're keeping up. If not, I do apologise. It was a little bit confusing when I was rewriting some of that code, but we've got to get back to the state where we was and start getting that cabling to work. So I'm going to have to figure a way of now connecting those cables. I might remove the code for communicating power and all that for now and rewrite that, because it wasn't the cleanest. Maybe we're doing too many steps. I don't know. So maybe the cable can just do all the work and offload it to the actors. I don't know. Well, we'll check that out. Anyway, thanks for listening and for watching even. And hopefully we'll see you next time. Goodbye for now.